I had a really interesting conversation recently that had to do with reaching your fullest potential. Kind of like this funny, abstract thing that we'll mention a lot, but I don't know how often we revisit or visit how you would actually attain that thing. How would you achieve the highest version? Like if you could meet all the different versions that you could possibly be, the different versions of you, what would the one that would be your highest, most achieved potential self, what would that be like, right? How would you get there? Well, I think the way to look at it is that since, at least, and this is for me, since there's a limit, there's a whole list of things that a person can do and can control, and there's a list of things that you can't control. The list that you can control is quite short, and so even though in a vacuum, it would seem like there's not a whole lot of significance to what I'm about to share. But when you add it all together, it's super significant. In fact, it might be the only three things that influence if you're able to reach your full potential. And in my case, those three things are where you're located, how you think, and who consumes your attention. So I'm going to start first with how you think. What's interesting about your day-to-day and oftentimes the people that I'm around is it's really easy to get swept away in the emotions, in the lower emotions. Things are like something makes you sad or angry or whatever. And in that moment, you're completely consumed by that emotion. And so it's guiding where you're going. So you're initiating activities and thoughts in your day based off of potentially a bad thing that happened. If you're not able to look at that, if I'm not able to look at that, right, on a given day, I'm like, man, today was a bad day. Was it actually? Because a lot of times it's a beautiful day like today, and I'm just going for a walk. And sure, I had some stresses, but it wasn't really that bad. However, I'm carrying these things in my head, so I get to choose if I want that to consume the perspective that I have for the day. If I'm good at doing that consistently, I have given myself an increase in not just who I am going to be, but what kind of people I'm going to attract. It's pretty powerful. So that's how you think. I think staying optimistic is a really big part of that, or at least childlike. The second one is where are you located, right? This one is your environment. For me, I know that if I'm in one place for a long time, especially if I'm in LA, and LA is very beautiful, especially if you're not from here, but I don't love this city very much. And it, like I said, it has beautiful parts. However, I love the sense of adventure when I'm somewhere else. Like right now, this part of town is wonderful. It's my favorite part of LA. It just happens to be where I grew up. And if I could, I would never leave here, but sometimes you've got to go out there and it's just traffic and chaos and all kinds of issues. So it's not necessarily my favorite place to be. However, when I'm on the road, I'm able to, ironically enough, and this is just for me, have more instability in a way, things that change and problems that I have to solve, and it keeps me on my toes, so I'm always ready for the next thing, meaning that I'm kind of like, I'm having a little bit more fun. It's easier for me. Now, even worse, here's a worse example. If I were to be, let's say in high school, and being berated by my dad, for example, of like, hey, environmental studies isn't gonna give you shit. Come on, go become a lawyer or a doctor, this kind of stuff, right? Hearing from someone who maybe didn't love the field themselves, and this isn't necessarily my dad, but like, I will often hear, especially from, we will often hear, many of my friends are in the same boat, from those that are growing up or stuck at their parents' house. A lot of times the parents want them to do the thing that they did, not necessarily because it is truly like, part of it is, they can make a living that way, but the other part is what validation that is to have your kids or your family do the thing that you did and you were like paved the path, right? Well, it's not always the answer. In fact, if you want a lot of independence, you have to get it outside of the family. Like, they're oftentimes not going to be the ones that are the most supportive. Not always. And so these are environmental examples, right? For me, I had to leave the state, and then I was able to start having the freedoms that I wanted to in order to problem solve and figure out, oh, hey, here's how you start a business, a company, and make my own friends outside of any kind of, family referral system. And then when I started living outside of the States, I got a brand new experience of like, oh, these things that I thought were rules or culture fits or something like it's just here, which means now I can look at the environment a bit more objectively, right? So whether you're in an environment that gives you support or pushes back on what you're doing, that's a pretty good indication that you're going to be able to achieve or not achieve that highest potential. Doesn't mean it always has to be supportive. If they're fighting back, it could be just the fight that you need in order to reach that full potential. So it's for you to decide. And the last one, which I think might be the trickiest, is who consumes your attention. Now, the reason why I say that is because I think that's how we have to look at it. I've had to learn this one, very difficult. Like, it's been very difficult for me to learn this one over, the last decade. And it's not even perfect for me yet. But something that I know to be true is that there's a limited amount of energy that I can give at a certain day. And as much as I'd love to give it to all the people that want my attention, friends or not, it is limited. So when I give it out, that is a little bit less that I cannot give to what I want to do. So if I knew that today I would need to give 100% of my attention to a thing or a person, like a certain category, in order to achieve my full potential today, which is extreme, right? If I knew I had to do that and I gave 1% of it somewhere else, this is an extreme example, that means I did not reach my full potential. And if you compound that, it grows over time. The hardest thing to do is to leave certain groups that you worked really well with, but you have outgrown. And the best we can do is gracefully step out of it and try and leave on even footing. And who knows, maybe you'll unite somewhere down the future. But we all change and grow, our interests change and grow, and hopefully we change and grow together. Not always the case. And the final part that I will say about that, why it's so important, is because when, like I said, consume, because there's probably most of us, in my experience, would love to have a place to vent their woes and have someone be like, yeah, you're right, that fucking sucks. Or complain to, in general. And I get it, for sure. I've been like that. I'm like that sometimes. But I have to be careful with it. And so I surround myself as much as I can with people that are just focused on building and moving forward. Every time that I drag someone from the past, or someone that is kind of like a lower vibration, I would be a fool to assume, and that doesn't mean they are low vibration, they are just low vibration now, right? So I'm not saying anything about who a person is fundamentally, just that we have different frequencies that we buzz at. And if you've got someone around you, even just one, that's hitting that lower vibration, then it is removing from you. And it's tough to acknowledge. You ultimately combine, I think, these three things in order to fully arrive at who you are. Maybe not for the week or the month, but just for the day. Just for the day, that's fine, that makes sense. But I guarantee you that if you're able to change just those three little things, who consumes your attention, what your environment is, like what would be ideal for you to go the furthest, and how you think, well, I'm pretty sure after a few days you'd see your life change in really significant ways. And I say this because that's how it works for me. When the good things happen, I feel pretty good about it. And when the bad things happen, I try and stay neutral or good about it. And it takes me leaning on people that have steadfast optimism or belief in me that helps me get through it. So I hope you have or find those people around you. If there's anything more that I or my team can help out in recommending this stuff or putting you in a direction to have more freedom in your life, check out Goosify. And have fun, make friends. Later.